Did you know that how you handle the problem can actually be worse than the problem itself?
I can't do it.
No, that's not what you said.
What did I say? We'll show you how. I'll forget that I gotta sit up like a freak.
Don't say that. Just stop.
You ready?
Yeah. Welcome back to Adore Your Spouse, where marriages get happier. I had this experience the other day when I was going with my family to a parade. And my son, who's 16, wanted to bring his girlfriend. Wasn't my first choice, but we decided to let her come. And I had to meet up with everybody there because I had to bring my younger daughter and get all the food for the picnic after the parade. So they were already there when I got there. So I get there, I sit down on the blanket, we're watching the parade, having a good time. Finally, I turned to Blaine, I'm like, so where's our son and his girlfriend? And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, wow, super not cool that we told him he could come to the parade with his girlfriend and then they just took off. So then, of course, this child has his own cell phone. So I start texting him and he doesn't answer. And at least 2 minutes went by and I called him and at least another minute went by and I called him again. And it had been at least 4 minutes.
I thought it'd been a few hours.
I had called and texted him like 3 or 4 times and he wasn't answering my calls and he wasn't answering my texts and he was nowhere to be found. And I was already fuming. Now, let's stand back for a minute. You can kind of probably see the ridiculousness of the situation that I was in, but I was overcome by emotions. And I was upset because it wasn't my first choice that he be there with his girlfriend, and I had said yes. And then the whole justification for it, that she was going to come, was so that we could get to know her. And then they weren't even with us, so why did she even come anyway? So we exchanged a somewhat heated phone call and some heated texts. And after about a half an hour, obviously I had let myself get emotionally out of control.
You have to say that the reason you didn't want her there per se was because you just wanted to spend time together as a family.
Well, yeah.
And we wanted to get closer. And you also need to inject here that he's a very good young man and he's very trustworthy. And so it wasn't like, the reaction was totally uncalled for.
It was totally disproportionate with his character because
he's such
what
a good
had
young
happened
man.
was they said, let's go for a little walk. And they had literally left just a few minutes before I got there. And we're already headed back 10 minutes later when I was texting him. So they had really just gone for a little walk. He had mentioned to his brother, who didn't remember, hey, we're going to go for a little walk. But his dad didn't know and I didn't know. And so I realized that I needed to calm myself down and I needed to apologize because I had overreacted to a very simple miscommunication. He actually had told his brother that he was going on a little walk. He actually only was gone for a few minutes and I wasn't even there to talk to her, and so he figured, why not?
Plus, he already had a track record of being a really good kid, so there was high trust. So there's no reason not to trust him.
Yes, there was no reason not to trust him because he always does what he says he's
going to do. And it's good that
you'll
admit that in public.
Well, I'm just saying, it happens in marriage all the time. There's a little tiny problem and we make it a big problem. And it doesn't need to be a big problem because it's our reaction that's causing it to be a big problem.
Yes.
They didn't put their plate away or they forgot to wash their car on the way home or whatever it is. And, we have our little pet peeves. I hate it when I lose things, so I tend to overreact. But, you're human. You might overreact sometimes, but try to at least be able to stand back from it and apologize later if you do. And try to start having more of a perspective of, this problem really isn't this big.
Well, it's like driving down the street, right? And someone pulls out in front of you and you may not, but someone will get all ticked off, right? But they forget that like the night before they pulled out in front of someone. And so it's just really seeing your spouse as human and saying,
letting them be human.
Like Audrey, I don't know if I tell her this, but she leaves her stuff out all the time in the bathroom, like her makeup and different stuff. And I clean it up all the time. And I think, why doesn't she ever put this away? And then I realize,
Because it gets put away for me. Why should I?
exactly. But then I think, but why does it matter?
Just kidding.
Really, out of all the things, this doesn't matter because I just want it really neat and clean in here and organized. So I'll do it. I'll spend a few minutes and do it. And I think there's so much fabulous stuff that she gives me and who she is and stuff. So I just let it go. And
Well, you could let it build up and you could have all these resentments and you could not say anything to me for a long time. And then finally one day when the mascara's out for the 100th time, you're like, that's it!
Yeah.
Mascara's
And
out
explode.
again!
Yeah. And so, but really, I think that will help you if you just think, oh, yeah, this is not a big deal. And if it is a big deal, well, you've obviously got to address it, but that's a different video.
Yeah. So our challenge to you is to stand back from any confrontations you have this week and to ask yourself, did I just make a smaller problem bigger? Did I just overreact to a situation that didn't need to be big, but I made it big? And if you did, then take a minute to apologize and take responsibility for making a small problem into a bigger problem. And remember that regardless of how big the problem, we can still always make it worse with our reaction.
You know, I want to say on the outside of that, I was working with a client and she's dealing with a very big problem. And I talked to her about it. We've gone through it. And I said, look, just let him know that he's better than this. And finally, he was swearing up a storm and yelling and really, really kind of ugly. And she said, you know what, you're better than this. And he's like, you're right. And he switched like that. So it can just be so powerful to do the other side as well.
So make sure to like this video and subscribe. And make sure too to head over to adoreyourspouse.com. We've got a free assessment there that you can take, and you definitely are going to want to sign up for the free class where you're going to get lots and lots of tools and tips and secrets and all kinds of cool stuff for helping your marriage be happier today. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, you can have the happy marriage that you want. Get into these habits, and that's just your thing you do. You just
That's your responsibility.
taking care of the taxes, or you're the one that mows the lawn, or you're the one that makes the bed, or you're the one that puts the kids down, or whatever it is that your job is now, and it becomes this expectation instead of just a nice gesture.